Hello, welcome to the program Spiritism Inspiring Lives. Today's theme, Goodness and Life. Our brief reflections hope to awake within ourselves new viewpoints that may help us to analyze ourselves. Always bear in mind, at least from the perspective where we find ourselves today, we are all immortal beings. Essentially beings of goodness, yet imperfect, perfecting ourselves, learning throughout this existence and different existences. So when we see the theme, goodness and life, we may start to reflect within, what do I, as the unique human being, as the unique soul in the universe, understand so far about goodness? What does goodness mean to me? The same reflection in relation to life. What is my meaning or definition about life? From which dimension, from which perspective do I analyze life or mind life? As immortal beings as we all are, each new reincarnation, that is, adopting a new body, but the old soul, we bring tendencies innate within us from our previous learnings that perhaps are favoring our evolution, and other aspects they may need our attention for us to read them. Learning is a constant process in our existence as immortal beings. And also goodness, let's see by the end of our reflections here, if you can see that there is a difference when goodness is perceived from a selfish state of mind and when goodness is perceived from the essence of ourselves. So we are all responsible for our evolution, our progress in these different steps that each reincarnation represents to us. But all of us as souls in progress, we are facing the possibility for us to invest in our intellectual, emotional, moral, and spiritual progress, either for us who are reincarnated on earth or all of those who find themselves in different places. Because those without a physical body are spirits as we are. We can always learn. And today's reflection will be based in the book Comandos de Amor by the spirit Sheila, which we actually love her reflections, helping us to expand our self-analysis or self-reflections in learning to give feedback with sincerity, addressing our individuality, always with the eyes of love, so that we can always embrace our eventual imperfections, shadows, shortcomings, and develop the willingness to override, to grow out of them. So Sheila starts by saying, in today's world, there is a good life and a life which is good. It's interesting. What does she mean actually in saying in today's world? This message actually is quite old, but the enlightened spirits, they always have messages that go well beyond one existence, because these messages are based on the truth that come from God, and they are always new for all of us as learners in the universe. So in today's world, when she says, it's very important to bring it back to us who are reincarnated on earth. Let's stay with our reality, or those who may be with us in a spirit, that we can also learn to analyze ourselves. Because in the end of the day, it's down to us individually to develop our own free will, our own capacity to think, to reflect, to meditate, and also to renew ourselves when it's needed. Because we are in a great school, Earth, in order to expand our consciousness, to grow in terms of knowledge and sentiments, as we are constantly conquering new ideas, new concepts, if we are open to, for sure. So let's go along and see what she means actually, or what we can right now presented with a good life and a life which is good. Do we know what is the difference? Do we know what are the qualitative or aspects, or for us at the moment, everything seems to be the same? I think there is a difference. Mei starts by saying, a good life is wellness. A life which is good is being well. Here we start to separate our understanding from a more reductionist, more materialistic, more body-wise understanding, and from the essence level onwards as spirits as we are. And also analyze our own development on the ethical, moral level, or psychological, emotional level, whatever words we may use. Because according to our level of evolution, we will perceive a life which is good or a life is wellness in different ways or not. But here our purpose is to enlighten our consciousness. A life which is good is more directed to a transitory time when we are on earth. And sometimes we may be quite attached to what is temporal, what is transient, and we may completely be detached or unaware of a life which is being well from a transpersonal, holistic, spiritual perspective. We can start to think here when Shayla says, that is why we have people with a good life and people with a life which is good. We are in this festive period on earth through the human calendar, which is different to the divine calendar, which is the same time, all the days, all the time. But here we are. There are people with a good life. What are my aims, my goals in this festive period, for instance? I can start to reflect because that talks about myself. A good life, I may be thinking about promoting whatever is possible from a materialistic perspective, which I'm entitled to if I do have the resources. Nothing against that. But bear in mind, we are not the things that we may have or not. And also whatever is transitory is not permanent. And we are on earth in order to develop the values while we are engaging what is transitory, developing what is transitory, what is permanent. So when Shayla says, people with a good life could be me, who don't have any interest engaging in the collective proposals. I'm not interested in promoting the goodness for humanity. I'm more laid back. It's almost like only thinking about my own life, my own issues, maybe in this more infantile state, or maybe very attached to the transitory values and customs, because as spirits, immortal beings, is studying God's laws, which are the natural laws in the universe. God never created the human calendar. But while we are incarnated, we are dealing with it. But how we engage, how we relate, how we may be affected or not, that will reflect our evolution that we conquered already, where we are. But we can always continue, always renew ourselves. People with a life which is good, a life which is good, I wonder that we can start to think about that is a life which is based in developing, conquering, and practicing and exercising our virtues in every day, all the time, with everyone, wherever we are. So can you see that the focus actually changes? One is more within, which surely will reflect outward, but the other is more dependent on the external apparent values or references. The aim for all of us who are evolving, who are progressing beyond what is transitory, is to think about ourselves responsible in writing our own history. Psychically speaking, which kind of values are relevant in my existence currently? Which kind of tendencies are triggered through this festive time on earth? How can I perceive myself that I'm using my free will and interacting with matter, but transcending matter? I think this is what Shayla is helping us as she carries on here, and I quote, "The first ones serve themselves. The second ones breed in the persistent help to others. A life which is good for us from a transcendent perspective. A life which is dedicated to our ethical, moral, intellectual advancement as spirits. Because sooner or later, we will no longer be learning on earth. So in order for us to promote us further, there is the need for us to be willing to expand further in terms of tendencies. And the second one, the first one, she says selfishness, when we are always just concerned about, or let's say, narrow-minded experiences. But we can always analyze, reflect, meditate, and transcend them. So the second one's, a life which is good is a life which is dedicated within and without in terms of promoting goodness within and goodness without. And goodness is not from a selfish reference. It is from the essence references on us. So we will never get tired when we are exercising our free will in promoting the essence within ourselves. For example, a life which is good, the ability to constantly learn and practice forgiveness towards self and others, to constantly be learning and training ourselves to be fraternal. And that becomes better and better. Constantly developing the ability to be tolerant of self and others. Constantly be willing to embrace proposals of goodness for all, not only me or mine. Because the recommendation given by the greatest psychotherapist and educator, Jesus, is that we develop our hearts, our minds, towards the references, which is we. As we are all interconnected as brothers and sisters in humanity, what are we choosing to do in this festive period? Are we choosing to look within, to be kinder with ourselves, to be more forgiving, to let go any hard feelings that we may have towards anybody else? Because it's illusion. So that we practice the expansion of self-love. We can always do that and dedicate ourselves towards others. We can do that when we think of goodness in relation to other people who are suffering or other people who are ill. The willingness from our heart to think, to feel good. Persist in finding new ways that the universe is showing us that we can place ourselves in serving others. This is the reference that our Master Jesus is presenting to us, inviting us to think about. And as Shayla carries on, the good life has traces of shadow. The life which is good has traces of light. Shadow are our imperfections, our shortcomings, the selfish way of living, attached to matter, the preference of materialistic values, tendencies, concepts. that we can freely choose to rewrite our belief systems, to broaden our understanding. And a life which is good shows traces of light within. How do I develop my inner light? Becoming aware of my own shadows, my own limitations, my own imperfections, and choosing to re-educate myself, changing. For instance, my shadow, I hate someone. When I choose now to forgive and freely choose to think that the other being is the loving being in essence as much as I am, I'm enlightening my own shadows. If I find it challenging to relate with others and I choose now to educate myself, putting myself in experiences, consciously knowing that I'm challenging my own self, diminishing the inner shadow and promoting the inner light. When we choose, for instance, to be more charitable, every day, every moment, with everyone where we are actually expanding light within. We are enlightening ourselves and so on and so forth. That is the way forward. And Shayla continues to enlighten us by saying, I quote, disorder favors the good life. Order promotes a life which is good. Reflecting about myself, do I have the tendency of disorder? Do I know it? How did I develop this habit? Or do I know that I conquered already order, psychically speaking, in terms of psychological and emotional tendencies? Because disorder means a spirit which is unbalanced, which is still is dealing with indiscipline, which is still maybe dealing with indifference. I don't care as long as I do what I want. Which still is dealing with the self-abandonment process internally. The spirit who hasn't learned to respect self and others, while the spirit will have learned to respect self and others, respect the time that comes from God. The spirit who already trained discipline in their own thoughts, feelings, actions. A spirit who already learned to be responsible for their own existences. The spirit will learn to be loyal to self and others. The spirit will learn to learn punctuality. Therefore, has developed order. This is why Shayla Seth promotes a life which is good. A life of respect, of dignity, promoting respect and dignity and love within and around with those who are with us. We are, in essence, collective beings. So it's also a different layer how we are analyzing ourselves. We always have room to improve further, and we are here to potentialize ourselves further. Observing our own shadow is part of the self-enlightenment process. But only observing, getting to know, and not transforming them, then I may temporarily be stuck. But we can always learn. If we don't know by ourselves, we can learn, studying with others, reflecting with others. There are always possibilities to move forward. A decorated world often shows a good life. A good example ensures a life which is good. If I am, as a spirit, in a possibility, let's imagine, of richness, which we all go through as learners. Times that we are more in lacking resources, other existences we may have more financial resources. So when I'm in a stage of financial resources available, there is a great risk that I may learn a lot intellectually, and especially if I learned already in previous existences. so I may develop a good memory, so I may have wise words, but not necessarily meaning that my heart, the emotional intelligence, developed to the same level. So this is what it says, nothing against developing our intellectual intelligence, but on the contrary, we all need to do that. But what I mean here, only words that I can even decorate in repeating them does not mean that my heart or heart is vibrating in the same level. Goodness and life is our reflections. While Sheila says the good example ensures a life which is good. Examples is what we are, is part of our character. Through developing a life which is meaningful, of developing qualities that are meaningful, which are good for me, which are good for others, which are good today, which are good tomorrow, and not only on Christmas time. That becomes very irrelevant as more as you expand, as more as we grow within the natural law. Goodness is what will prevail forever, everywhere, with everyone, once we awake this potential within ourselves. Laziness lives in the good life. Work shines a life which is good, says Sheila, the spirit. So when I, let's say, more immature, more childish, spiritually speaking, I may appreciate laziness. I may appreciate sleeping a lot, well beyond what I need. I may appreciate just lying around without any meaningful attitude. But once I grow out of that childish way of being, I mature myself through my own efforts in understanding what life actually means on earth. What the universe is inviting me and all of us to develop through our own efforts. Then we will be engaging in working, which is translated into serving. Serving is our proposal. Serving wherever we are, with who we are, all the time, is the proposal of the greatest psychotherapist, Jesus. Only when we mature, when we grow, when we choose to enlighten ourselves, when we choose to transcend our old ways of being, we are on earth facing the same transitory experiences, but engaging with them, making choices which are meaningful to our souls. Hello, Antonia, welcome. Nice to be together. And Sheila continues, I quote, ignorance darkens the good life. Education illuminates a life which is good. Or ignorance is based on status or on imperfections. And we may feel through our ignorance that we are very powerful when we hate others, when we slander about others, when we may feel vengeance over somebody else, when we are dishonest, but that is ignorance, considering that we are immortal. Because sooner or later, through the law of cause and effect, we will be dealing with the consequences of those dark initiatives. While we learn here, education illuminates life, which is good. We are actually, myself and all of us, in the great education center, which is Earth. In order for us to be the educators of ourselves, educating our thoughts, educating our belief systems, educating our feelings, educating our emotions, educating our actions, educating our choices. Life is about choice. Which kind of choices are we organizing our existences with? And then Sheila continues by helping us see goodness in life by saying, selfishness fuels good life. Charity enriches a life which is good. We may ask, what is my option? Sheila always presents two options. Which will be our option? When we are dealing with our own selfishness, we are still with a very narrow-minded way analyzing our experiences which are transitory, and may find it very challenging to look beyond. But bear in mind, Earth is our school. So how about reflecting about be more charitable? Not only in this period, because that is a very narrow-minded view when we are studying about the universal laws, life in abundance in the universe. Charity, learning to be more charitable every day, all the time, with everyone. What do you mean by that? In the Spirit's book, we learn that Jesus teaches to whole humanity. Charity is learning to be more indulgent, be more benevolent, and be more forgiving. Are we willing to offer these gifts to our own soul? Constantly? All the time that the universe invites us? Because practicing charity, it is developing the virtues within ourselves. It is a pathway of developing self-love. Self-love. In discipline, says Sheila, is the objective of the good life. Discipline is the roadmap of a life which is good. How do I analyze myself? Do I think that I'm indisciplined? Or sometimes, but not always? Or in my self-analysis, can I observe that I conquered already discipline and I'm constantly improving it further? In discipline is the objective of good life, because I don't care about the collective. I don't care about others as long as I get what I want. This is what the Spirit Sheila is teaching us here. I organize, let's say, to go to the dentist. I don't mind if I arrive later. I don't have the maturity to understand that we all are social beings and are responsible for our own time and the time of others. I cannot practice responsibility through indiscipline. Responsibility, which is the internal autonomy, is conquered in practicing discipline. When she says discipline is the roadmap of a good life. And as more as we learn to be responsible for what we think, feel, behave, and do, how we embrace our own existences, to which level we address it, then we will discipline our thoughts, because we are essentially thinking beings. So first, we need to be conscious what we are thinking. Second, to analyze if that is good or not. And good according to universal laws. And third, if it's not, be willing to correct. Be willing to put effort into, to persist in constantly learning and changing. Discipline is a virtue. It's a faculty of a higher self. And Sheila says, it is easy to observe on the earthly path that there are many people enjoying a good life and few people living a life which is good. Because a good life clouds the soul. And living a life which is good keeps the conscience awake to the fulfillment of one's own duties. Is important here. A good life based on selfishness, on materialism, on consumism, with the perspective of this existence, I need to really run and crush because otherwise I'm left behind. Everybody does this and that. We are on earth to promote further our individuation, our individuality, as unique beings as we are in the universe. We are on earth, this great school of souls, in order to observe our own shadows that cloud our souls, so that we can illuminate them, transcend them. But doing that as a free choice, self-empowerment, self-discipline, embracing the projects that involve the development of humanity, the goodness for all. And this project starts within ourselves. Good life, or a life which is good. A life which is good is an invitation by Shayla to develop aspects, qualities that promote us forever as immortal beings. Let's reflect about that. It's important, as she says, let us be alert regarding the position we choose. For depending on the type of our daily experiences, we know with security what kind of life we are following. With these few reflections here, aiming to bring light in our consciousness so that we can freely choose to analyze ourselves in a loving way, but also freely choose to become better than we are today, and freely choose to expand our consciousness in the understanding goodness is a project that every soul, that is, all of us, carry within us. Life is the life within God, who created us with love in order for all of us to learn to love ourselves, to love others, to love our own existence, to love the work that we can do, use our resources that we have, our hands, our feet, our thought, our feeling, the ability, the capacity that we can pray for each other. What is praying? It's spreading love, thinking good towards each other, favoring good, sacrificing our selfishness so that someone can benefit from our initiative. Not that we are expecting rewards or gratifications. No. The love that frees us from ourselves is the love that we express in our minds, our hearts, our actions in serving. Serving means do good in our homes, within our families, in our workplaces, and in our communities. I hope that these reflections bring some enlightenment in terms of understanding the goodness in our existences, in our lives, that we still can practice, that we still can spread, that we still can cooperate to develop a life which is better for everyone, everywhere, all the time. And in that way, I wish you much peace, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.